Okay. And then Thais, if you could admit our waiting people, that would be great.
I think my beta blocker is kicking in. Just kidding. I don't know.
Oh, there's Monica.
That was
Okay.
my joke.
Do you want to do our welcome?
Yes.
Because we've recorded. We have our
Yes,
script.
we are ready. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As we are coming live from the Mendocino College campus. Today is our first installment of the Fall 2024 Wellness Workshop Series. And today's topic is basic budgeting, which will feature our Mendocino College Accounting and Economics professor, Julie Finnegan.
But first, we're going to introduce ourselves as we'll be today's co-hosts. So I'm Lisa, the Mendocino College Health and Wellness Counselor and Coordinator. I just want students to know that mental health therapy is free. That's my motto this semester. And I'm excited to bring a variety of speakers and information to students this semester. And so please provide feedback at the end of the workshop on today's workshop, and also if there are other topics that you'd like to see in the future. Tasha.
Thank you. I'm Tasha Wetzel. I work as the Learning Disability Specialist at Mendocino College. In my position, I work with the Disability Resource Center by providing a learning skills lab on the UCI campus. And I also work with students interested in accommodations in their college courses based on a disability. And I also assess students for learning disabilities and teach study and learning strategies. And welcome today and joining us.
Awesome. And we also have joining us doing tech and questions is Thais Springer, and she'll be our timekeeper and she'll monitor the chat. And Thais is the LGBTQIA+ program specialist at Mendocino College. A big thank you for Thais's help today. Thanks, Thais.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. For about the next 20 to 30 minutes. We'll be talking with our special colleague from Mendocino College. Anybody in the audience, if you have questions, please put them in chat and we'll address them towards the end of the discussion. With us today, we have Julie Finnegan, who will be talking with us about basic budgeting skills. Julie Finnegan teaches economics and accounting at Mendocino College. She studied economics and management at St. Mary's College, SAA School of Management, and Bocconi University. And prior to her academic career, she was a relationship manager in middle market commercial banking in California and Arizona. Welcome, Julie, and we're excited to hear about how to increase our basic budgeting skills.
Thank you for having me. So I just want to start off. First, I'm going to put just really quickly, I'm going to put my email in case anyone has any questions. I'm going to put my email in the chat. If we don't get to what a question that you have, I want to make sure that you have my contact information. It's also in the slide, which I'll give to you later as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint here. Sorry, it's coming through. There we go. Share. I'm going to share my screen. Perfect. Now, can you see the first slide of my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can see that. That looks great, Julie.
So great. So that's perfect. So because that's a big deal. I don't want to be, I don't want to be talking and have us not be on the same page. So, okay. So my name is Julie Finnegan and I've already been introduced. This is going to be a basic, just really fundamental case for making the case for why we should all be cash budgeting. It is fundamental to our everyday lives. And so I'm going to show you some things that help you have this be useful to you. Oops. What just happened? So let's take it from the top. Can you cut that out? Will you be able to edit? I don't know. So the first thing I want to do is to just talk for a moment about any feelings that you might have about budgeting or when you hear the words cash. So if I could just have, if anyone want to volunteer, how, when you hear the words, what comes to mind, and if you can either put them in the chat or you can volunteer to include yourself. My screen share is not stable.
So Julie, I
Yeah.
just coincidentally, I've been cleaning out a file cabinet and I found a folder labeled budgets. And I see in our family, we've started and started and started and started, but never quite went from actually having a budget to working it day to day, week to week.
Day to day, right, to actually tracking and sticking to it.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Well, when I hear budget, I think of that as a negative thing, so that means I can't do something. I will always associated that, hey, I got to put myself on a budget or I got to figure that out. So my immediate thing is, oh no, I can't spend my money.
Right, like a
Like-
diet. It's like a money diet, right?
Diet, yes.
Yeah, the money diet, it doesn't, you don't lead with the word budget on anything.
I wrote that I love the word cash, but the word budget gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, oh God, like it feels restraining.
Anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I feel that. What about Juan, please?
When I started this, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for putting this on. I just kind of want to almost follow what Tasha mentioned, that for me, when you hear budget, it almost seems like you're trying to save, you're trying to do whatever you can, but then you realize, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this because it costs too much, or it's going to take you a while to save. And by the time like you're saving, then something else happens and you have to use that money for like if your car breaks down or something at your house. So for me, like budget always seems is like it's scary.
Yeah, fear. We also have to think about not just budgets, but money today, but money in the future, and the risk that goes with that can cause a lot of anxiety. It doesn't actually doesn't matter how good you are at budgeting if you have things in the future that happen that no one planned for. We call in economics, we call those black swan events. So the black swan is basically something that no one would have known to budget for because we didn't know it existed. So we can all take all the feelings that you have and just hear them, listen to them, take a deep breath, and then let it go. Because this thing, money, is not who we are. It's just a thing. So they sometimes call it net worth. Yeah, that you're not your financial net worth. You're way more than that. And I say this especially to people especially students that come to me with a lot of credit card debt or student loan debt. That is not your worth. So let's move away from the idea that we have feelings about money, and let's learn a tool that will empower us to just be able to do all the things that you talked about, that you said that the budget might not enable you to do. That's not what budgets are for. Budgets are to help you do all the things that you want to do. So let's turn this around, and the way you are able to do the things that you want to do is by making a very basic cash budget. So I will share screen again and see, hopefully this will work. Is it sharing?
Sharing. We do see your slide
Oh, good. Okay.
and all the sides on, and the side slides too.
So I will go, okay, so I have to minimize you all. And we will go from the beginning.
Awesome.
So here's how we can move away, and here's how a cash budget can help. Now, I put on here budgeting for college, but this tool works for anything that you want. Maybe it's a vacation. Maybe it is saving for a home. Maybe it is saving for a car. What we're going to do is create a simple algorithmic tool that you're going to use for planning and tracking and deciding, making decisions. And the tool will allow you to manage your stress level. And it'll actually help you figure out what are some reasonable goals to have. Like I think a lot of students end up at Mendocino College versus transferring to a four-year school because it's a smart thing to do. It's a reasonable goal. We have a lot of financial and social resources here. And so I'm hoping to reach students to tell them, hey, you've already made a really good financial decision. So let's keep it up and let's use this budget. So when you build a budget, there are really kind of 5 aspects to it. It's not all about money. The first piece of building a budget is figuring out your time frame. And that, I mean, I tell students this, but you really need to understand that time, how long your budget is going to be, it sort of has to coincide with your goal, but also the interval of time that you're going to use. You're going to do a weekly budget, a monthly budget. Time is very important. And then we have a little formula, which I will explain later, but you basically start with your beginning balance of whatever you have now, even if it's 0. Then you are going to add to that any potential future cash flows. Then you will subtract your cash outflows, and then you will get an ending balance, and you will do this for time intervals. So what I've prepared is a little case study, and this is a lot of information. We'll bounce back and forth. So this is my student, Santiago Benjamin, and he's come to me and he is really stressed about the fall semester. And he starts talking, and people talk really fast and you don't get it all in. But basically, Santiago has worked for 3 years and over the summer, and he saved $4,900 for college. He plans on working part-time during the semester, and he has a lot of bills, and he's worried about whether or not he's going to be able to pay for everything over the next 4 or 5 months. And September 1st comes, and he knows he needs to make the fall semester payment. So what I have here, this is kind of a slide. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the 5 steps with Santiago, and then those are the 5 little dots you see down below. And then I also made a spreadsheet because really you could do this on paper, but the fun part is putting it in a spreadsheet and playing with the numbers. That's kind of a powerful tool. So we're going to ask Santiago these 5 questions. I just went over with you a minute ago. I wanted to put them in again to remind you that it's just these 5 steps. So the first thing we're asking Santiago is, how many months do you want your budget to be? Santiago says, I just need to get through this semester. So we're going to make a 4-month budget, and that's what you have presented here. So 4 months from September, October, November, December. These are 4 columns. So if you're on a piece of paper, you want to write out 4 columns, draw 4 or 5 lines, and then put these months at the top of those columns. The second part is, how much cash do you have to start? And Santiago's been saving, so he has saved $4,900. That's the beginning cash balance. So that $49 goes under September. So all you're going to do is under September, write $4,900. Any questions so far? I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing any. Okay. Now this gets a little, as the information flows, it gets, it gets more complicated. For part 3, the cash inflows, the assumption is that Santiago, he's going to continue working, but since he's in school, he can only work part-time. He's going to work on the weekends and one night a week. He's going to make $1,100 a month. So for this amount, the $1,100, you will put that part-time income, $1,100, in each of the month's columns. So under each month, after your balance, your beginning balance, you're going to add that pay that you project over the next 4 months. Okay, so for this one, this is the cash outflows. This part is the part that people really, it's painful. And the reason is that we're experiencing a lot of inflation and times are hard. And this is really the part where when you're talking to someone about their budget, you want to be kind to yourself, and you want to be kind to anyone who is sharing any financial information with you, because it's just painful to pay bills. And if you've never, some students, their parents pay the bill. You should give your parents a hug. If you have anyone that helps you out, you give them a hug, because it is very difficult. So I listed here, if you remember, to look back. So in this, if you look back, let me see if I can go back one. If you look back at the list of expenses that were on the right, you will see that Santiago has to pay fall tuition on September 2nd. He needs to make the deposit on his apartment and rent, food. He showed me his bank statement. It looks like he's spending a little over $500 a month on food. So I talked to him about that. $500 is also what the government says is the minimum or the average amount one person would spend on food, phone, internet, utilities, entertainment, gym membership. Santiago doesn't have a car. He's going to use the bus system. He's got a bus pass and Uber for any other transportation needs. So a pretty simple life. Not all of our students, this will not resonate with all of our students. Some students live far away and have a car, and that comes with a whole other bag of expenses. So these are the cash outflows. I want to review this formula. Put a pin in it. Let's just review this formula before we go any further. Step 1 was to start with your beginning balance. Step 2 was to put in any future cash inflows, then cash outflows. And finally, we're going to get our ending balance of our cash, of our budget, and then we'll have a balance for each account. And this is what it looks like. I did not calculate the ending balances here. This budget is not about the ending balance. This budget is about making the budget. So again, beginning balance, adding the income, subtracting the expenses, and then getting an ending balance for each month. What I have here is a spreadsheet that I wanted to share with you. This is the numbers that these are close to the numbers that Santiago gave me. And these are actually what I would assume in these numbers is that these could be the projected, or these could be the actuals. For example, we notice in the spreadsheet, Santiago said, oh, my landlord's raising my rent. So I changed that from 700 to 750. For the part-time job, he was able to call his boss and ask for more hours to work. He checked his bank account and it looks like he got some birthday money, and the total came to 500. The point is that this is a more informed decision-making tool for Santiago than all the emotions that we had before we put the information down. So now I want to ask you all, what do you see when you are looking at the spreadsheet? And we can even go back to the pro forma budget if you would like. What are things that come to mind? You have feelings about this? I'm asking my audience.
I know, for me, Julie, I think one of the things I'm thinking about is like, okay, so if I budget $500 for food, then what tools or strategies do I need to employ to be able to just kind of manage that day to day, week to week? Like what, is it better for me to just set the number and kind of have this general feel about, yes, I'm under or over that number? Or is it better to just really work like 4 weeks, so I'd have like $125 a week. And if I bounce over that, then, oh, well, I'm going to eat my, my really old carrots and whatever I have, or I'm going to go the pantry at the school, or I'm going to supplement my food some other way once I run through my 125. I don't know, that's just what comes to mind. It's like that it's kind of in the details of it. And
Yeah.
how do I manage that?
Anybody else want to bring in on that?
Yeah, I mean, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I find it really reassuring to have it all laid out and tangible, to be able to see this is, these are just the facts, and this is the money that, like, if it were me, this is the money I have, and this is what I have to spend out. And I think it's really helpful for planning for the next few months, for the next, whatever span of time. So for me, I think it's, putting together a budget is a very reassuring tool. It's not, particularly sexy, but it's, it's great
Right,
to know
I
when
know.
you have something left over, or you get a little extra, or you can, maybe you're falling short and you can figure out, a strategy for making those extra ends meet.
Totally. Anybody else? Juan.
So it actually gives me a little bit more anxiety, because I'm looking at all these numbers and I see all these negatives. So like -700 all the way across, -500. So it's even giving me a little bit more of anxiety and wondering if I even have enough, or if I don't have enough, where am I gonna find the money?
Yeah, so when you look at it and you see, so I didn't have to put the negatives in for the bills. You could keep them positive if you like, but it is a cash outflow. So I want to address the food part, and then I'm going to come back to your anxiety. So the food part is, in my opinion, one of the most complicated parts, because people like to eat out at a restaurant. So that's part of the entertainment, sometimes, is eating out. the inflationary pressure on eggs and meat and milk can have a huge impact on people's budgets. And so one of the things that is really helpful is to take a health class at the college and to find out it's not just about filling your stomach, it's about nutrition. So what are some choices that you can make that you can live with that are both, your food choices are both economic and provide you a lot of nutrition. I am not a nutritionist, but I know that the common thing that we say in our house, because as teachers, we're only paid 10 months out of the year. So we have 2 months where this budget, we live very closely to this budget. And we just know that over the summer, we're going to eat, because of the complementary amino acids, beans and rice. Beans and rice it may sound funny, but those are 2 really economical choices that are good for you. They're a complete protein, I believe, with the amino acids. It's something I learned along the way, that is a fantastic choice. So you can start to explore items that, or food. You can start to explore food choices that will keep you in your budget. And then if you save a little here, then you have money to go out with or buy, maybe a steak someplace else. So the 500, yes?
I was going to add that when we do at the end of the month on Wednesdays, we will be providing produce to students. And the Blue Zones Project will also be out there tabling alongside, and they'll take whatever the vegetables are at that time, and they'll be creating some kind of meal, nutritional meal with those items.
Yeah, and we also have support services in the community. I was on the board of Plowshares, and they do provide amazing nutritional meals. You just come in, no questions asked. They're on South State Street, so that's another support system. There's a lot of ways to make ends meet. I want to note that the $500 is what the federal is the Fed number, basically. And a lot of times our California numbers don't, maybe not with fresh fruit and vegetables, but in other areas, we don't necessarily compare. The cost don't necessarily compare. So, but it's one of the reasons why people get very upset when we go through inflationary times. I want to get back to the anxiety for just a second. When you feel anxiety, when you see all these numbers, just remember that these numbers are not you. And you must, what I always tell people is separate yourself. This is Santiago's budget. This isn't yours. And one of the great things when I do this with my students in class, I assign it in the middle of another managerial accounting problem. So when they approach this problem, this case study, they are in the business mode. And it does not occur to them that this will impact their life until they get to the end of the problem and they realize they just did a student budget. So they have no anxiety at all because they're doing it for a business. Suddenly this is a tool and they're going to start to apply it to themselves. So I always try to separate myself from the numbers. And the worst case scenario is that if it makes you really anxious, then you just give your budget to me and I'll do it for you.
I love that.
No, you get help, so you don't do it by yourself. This is
Right.
this, you have to have someone to bounce your ideas off of. Okay, so am I still screen sharing?
Yes, and we
Okay.
have just a couple of minutes left.
Okay, so I want to wrap up and just say a few things. One, ask you a question. So does the 4-month budget work for Santiago? And you might immediately have a reaction. What the reaction might be, yes or no. But what I want to tell you is that if you notice in the original slide, that the $936 that he pays in fall, he also has to pay on January 2nd for the spring semester. So he doesn't have $936 at the end of December. So remember in the beginning, I said that time, using the right time frame matters. And so in this situation, I would say that the 4-month budget is inadequate, that probably Santiago would want to do a longer budget, maybe a year, to prepare for spring, paying for spring, if the goal is college. Then small changes, I already mentioned, but were there any other small changes to the budget that you would recommend having a conversation about when you look at this budget?
Before we end, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Where would credit cards go? How do I put credit card stuff?
That is a line I can put in here. So if you have, so a lot of students come to me with credit card debt, and you really want to have a goal to pay that off. And you would just put a line. I can show you how to put a line in the spreadsheet.
But would you just put like because you want to pay it off eventually?
Right.
You don't want to pay
So,
just like
so what I would do is write, can you see the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
So what I would do is you would look at the balance, divide it by, say, the number of years you think it'll take you to pay it off, then divide that by 12 and put that amount in a line here and put what you can pay monthly. And that would be, and once you're done paying off your credit card, then that column can be your next goal. It can be, savings for a house, savings for retirement.
that's like assuming I don't use the credit card.
Assuming you don't use the credit card, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you can't use the credit card. One of the things that credit cards help us with is cash flow timing differences. So if this were a perfect world, let's say in my spreadsheet here, what if, in December, oops, it won't let me edit it, but let's say in December, Santiago makes another $1,500. Any ending balance that you might have could go to paying down that credit card, anything left over. So it can be kind of revolving. The most important thing with the credit card is you want to make that monthly payment to establish your credit and maintain your credit. That's the biggest issue with credit cards is the ability to pay something monthly to keep your credit score up. Okay, let's go back just a second and then we'll wrap it up. One of the things I would have said to recommend to Santiago is that he doesn't really need a gym membership if he's going to Mendocino College, because we have a gym here on campus. The other thing, as far as entertainment, check out a soccer game. There's all kinds of things that happen on this campus. Theater, there are festivals, and getting your social enrichment here doesn't have to cost you $250 a month. So that's another thing. And then finally, I just want to take this a next step. So I have a listing here of resources that I would like to share. I'm very passionate about economic empowerment, particularly for students of, first-time college students. If you look, it's interesting that you discussed student debt, and there's an article here on, the borrowing how we borrow, how does borrowing happen in college and even after college, and the socioeconomic divide over borrowing is shocking. So I just want to give a plug that I have these resources here. They are provided by AUW, American Association of University Women. They're really interested in advancing a financial empowerment for students. We have a student club on campus. Anyone who's interested, I'm the advisor for that, and I actually put my information in here. So this is a budgeting tool from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, wonderful budgeting tool. And here's a fun one if you're a mom, because one of the things we didn't put in our budget was keeping track of, when you're a parent trying to go to school, keeping track of budgets for childcare, and you have to feed your children. We've all been there. So anyone who's interested in getting more support for budgeting, my door is always open. Well, no, actually, sometimes my door is closed, but I'm always here. This is my email address if you're interested in joining the AUW club. And getting involved with financial empowerment, please email me. And I also have a QR code. You can take a screenshot to get everything in this presentation. So that ends it for my part.
Thank you, Julie, so much for visiting with us today. For those of you that attended, we would enjoy your feedback. And we'll have Thais put the link for the evaluation in chat for you. And our hope is to get the video tape out within a couple of weeks and get that posted out on the Health and Wellness website.
Would you like me to post? I see someone asked for the slides. Would you like me to
Yes,
post
please.
a link to the slides? Okay. So if you don't have a phone, let me see if I can do this very quickly. I'm not sharing anymore, right? You have it?
No, I'm not sharing.
Okay.
So you can put it in the post. Thank you.
And I can also put it with the recorded information as well, Julie.
Okay.
And just I wanted to let people know that our next wellness workshop will be on September 25th at 12:30 with Jennifer Justice, who was just here with us. And she is the Mendocino College Alternative Media and Assistive Technology Specialist. And she's going to share with us exciting college success applications or apps.